now. Well, first of all, thank you for joining us today on Smudges. I'll make a proper introduction. Welcome back. This is the first episode after a year of not shooting a podcast. Today I have a very
This is the
dear
first
friend-
episode?
The first episode.
Oh, I'm honored.
Yeah. Well, it's an honor to have you, ya akhi. This is a very good friend of mine back in high school and middle school, Bader Kabbani. Lawyer / model / actor, inshallah.
I don't know about model.
Yeah, you did Fashion Week, I saw.
Yeah, I did that recently. That's true.
How was that? How was that an experience?
Honestly, that was really unanticipated, especially that situation. When I got the call, I was supposed to be a fitting model.
Okay.
And basically, a fitting model is the model that they bring before the models to try a bunch of clothes so that when the real models come in, they don't have to waste time before the runway and they just. I'm like a human mannequin.
You were like Tasbira.
Basically, tasbira. But they were paying well, and I was like, sure, why not? And then so I did that,
Yeah.
and then the real models from like abroad came,
Yeah.
and khalas, I had already finished my fittings, and I was going to the airport. And when I reached the airport, I got a call from someone working there. I don't know who it was, and they just said, "Don't board that flight. Like,
What?
we want you for the full week." And I didn't know what that meant. Like, I didn't know what I was setting myself up for. I don't know what was happening. Maybe they had more clothes that they needed to try, but I had work in Jeddah,
Yeah.
so I had said like, "Oh, I'm sorry, whatever." And then they were also paying well. I was like, "This is convincing. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on here?" So I went back, and then I started hearing from like other models saying, "You're gonna close a show with Telida."
Oh no
And
way.
here I was like, "Is this true?" I mean, I have no idea. You know. And then I later find out from the designers and like the organizers that I was walking a few shows. So I was like,
They loved you, huh?
I don't know what it was,
Mhm.
what happened, but it was just kind of all like a domino effect. Everything happened so quick. There were no actual preparation of being in the runway. It was kind of like boom, show. You know,
Wow.
what about? So not really much time to anticipate
What's
that.
going on and how to prepare.
That's why the imposter syndrome was like still
till now.
till now. When you say model, I'm like model.
Model. بس خلاص صرت model. Even on my TikTok كلها models of like just you walking the runway, as well as like hear me out cakes I was telling you earlier.
What's a hear me out cake?
Hear me out cake is basically like you put someone that's attractive and you print out a little picture.
Oh, it's called I thought it was called the smash cake.
That too. That could, that could be the
sorry.
version you found.
Was that your way of censoring?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
They hear me out cake.
Okay.
The smash cake. Well, it's good to know that you're on a lot of people's cakes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
طيب أنا actually يعني it's been quite a long time since we've last spoken. I think أيام school, maybe a couple events here and there. But it's like you've been around the world and you've been traveling, you've been living abroad for a while, and you made your return to Saudi recently. I wanted to ask you, what's one of your favorite places that you've visited?
Rio
Rio?
de Janeiro.
Is that when you turned blonde? And
That's when I had Las'a and I was like switched up, completely alter ego led,
yeah.
and I bleached my hair.
Why?
I don't know. I
What?
just I wanted to
Blend in?
Everybody was doing it in Brazil, and I don't know. I just felt like there was some sort of frequency. When you're in Rio, you're like in another planet.
Yeah. I can
Genuinely,
imagine.
like I thought Iceland, when I went to Iceland,
Mhm.
I thought it was like super different and a different world, different scene. And then I went to Rio and I was like,
Ah.
wow, you look to your right, there's the beach. You look to your left, there's the mountains. You look, straight ahead, there's the city, and everybody's just happy.
I think the happiness, like really how happy everyone is.
Yeah. The endorphins were high. Maybe because also we were shooting a documentary. So I was like, I'm going to do this.
I love that for you. طيب, from your platforms that you use, which one is your favorite, Instagram or TikTok?
I've always used Instagram,
Mhm.
but I never really leveraged Instagram to like my work.
Mhm.
but now I'm starting to understand the importance of it, so I'm trying to like build on that. TikTok started off when so I'm more on TikTok. I post more on TikTok, and I don't take myself too seriously there. It started when I removed my tonsils.
Yeah.
And the recovery of removing your tonsils is so brutal that you can't leave the house. So I remember I was just doing TikToks way after it was a thing, like not during COVID, none of that. You know how like TikTok grew since then? And I would post like just skits or funny videos, and I wouldn't take it seriously. And then now, like that I continued posting, I started seeing that it was like kind of a trail of my journey. So I kind of enjoyed doing that, which is why
you lean more towards TikTok.
I lean more towards TikTok, and especially with what I want to do, like with acting.
Yeah,
I think TikTok is a great creative outlet for that. It's not entirely that, but it's some sort of expressing yourself.
I like that, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's free. Like, you can do as much as you want.
Exactly.
And it gets out there.
I mean, I heard from someone the other day tell me my content is so random. She was like a PR I mean, she works in PR, and she was telling me, I want to categorize you as something. Like, I want to send you a package, but I don't know what you are.
You're a jack of all trades.
I'm just so random, you know? Like, she said, what are you? Like, an influencer, a TikToker, an actor, a filmmaker.
You don't know.
Every day is different content. One day I'm posting about Dean, and the next day I'm posting I'm posting about like an Egyptian skit.
And it's does it like I get all different personalities from you and like,
all at once, you know, the algorithm is like,
what's going on? Where did I push him? Where did I put him?
Yeah.
Welcome back. We had a little change of scenery, a lot of lamps. You want me to direct it towards you?
I wouldn't say Doberman.
So what's your star sign?
My sign is a Pisces.
Pisces, okay. Yeah. For all the girlies who care, like he's a Pisces man.
Wait, I actually don't want them to know. It's not a good thing being a Pisces, apparently.
Apparently, yeah.
The most psychopaths in the world are Pisces.
Pisces, okay.
Imagine. Not that I'm a psychopath.
I'm gonna have to shift a little bit. Be careful.
No, but every girl that finds out that I'm a Pisces hates it. So now I started saying like that I'm an Aries or something. If I was just meeting a girl,
you'd be like, oh my god, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, exactly. Which goes to show how it doesn't make any sense.
Ones. Yeah, you pick the ones that all the girls like.
Yeah, but I don't know why there's like a collective of girls who have gone through a bad experience with Pisces.
I think it's your turn to debunk those. So you can't do it for everyone.
Yeah,
you know? That's okay.
I'm not a Pisces spokesperson.
Yeah. Then, actually, how are you feeling? And tell me about like how are you genuinely feeling?
Good. Yeah.
Even behind the scenes.
Generally good. You know, like now, yes, but like this year, to reach this point that I'm in right now, I would say I had to like go through a full-on transformational process, which was very internal, and that was difficult. But now, if you ask me, is who I am better today? Yeah. I think being hyper aware of what the shit that went down, I'm feeling a lot more secure and better.
So how important is consistency to you as a social media person?
It's here's the thing, like it's about what I classify myself, right? I never really saw until like very recently I wasn't monetizing my social media, so it wasn't really a job. You know, I always had this ambition for acting and filmmaking. And social media was kind of just how everything is intertwined, and it was just a creative outlook on the side. And given like how crazy my life is, social media is kind of cool to record the journey, and being consistent with that is a rewarding thing. I think it helps me kind of also watch the progress that I've made, the journey that I've been on. It's a cool feeling, and I think being consistent is how you get to that. You know,
you get to that point.
Yeah.
So
were you talking more about like having an actual content calendar? Because I know some people
just consistency, because there could be consistency in emotions, consistency of so
it's
many
a
other
roller
things.
coaster if we're talking
Yeah.
about emotions.
Yeah.
That's a whole different
It's a
story.
whole other story. But let's start from where it begins. And you started off as a lawyer.
Yeah.
And then you got into acting because that's something that you're very ambitious about. And then you went into modeling as a side thing whenever it comes, but you're not actively pursuing it, as I understood. So walk us through your journey, how it went from being a lawyer to an actor to a TikToker.
TikToker.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a shit show, to be honest, because the transition is not really easy. You know, I think part of why I went down the lawyer path is the fact that I knew it was a standardized system. You know, you go to law school, you do your bachelor's, then you do your master's, and then you train, and then you litigate, and you go do your 9 to 5, and everything is kind of systematic. So being in that path specifically, how I behaved as a person was really in tune and really abided by societal expectations, societal rules, your family, whatever it is. It's more ideal.
Yeah.
You know,
especially in Saudi.
Exactly. You always hear the Arab parents saying, "Oh, I want my son to be a lawyer or a doctor or whatever."
Engineer.
You know, the artist world is kind of
not shunned, but
it's just not really understood.
like your parents are very supportive for you to be an actor, and they probably
It took them a minute. I mean, my mom literally on the way to here asked me, "When are you actually gonna get a real job?" And I'm like,
no way.
I don't know when my next audition is, let alone if I get the role.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just so uncertain. Whereas when I was a lawyer, I had all these societal targets that were playing by the book, right? So when I made this transition to acting, I had to face a lot of things internally. I had to transform a lot of things because going into this comfortable, secure route to something that's really completely different, completely uncertain, really scary, makes you dig deeper within yourself and find out where are the missing pieces. For example, I mean, you know how I was when I was in the law path. How would you describe me in high school?
In high school, you're very loud, always out and about, very social. You're into art, I believe, if I wasn't mistaken. You were the grade above me, so
Yeah.
So like you're out and about with the shabab, mixing with like all our group of friends.
It was more like, khalas, I had this insurance policy for what I was going to do in the next 5 years. Let me just be a kid. But see, the fact that you saw me as like social and out and about, I didn't realize that at the time I was actually feeling inferior.
Inferior?
Yeah. Like I didn't realize that I had built this persona surrounding my law path until I reached when you make that transition, you really need to be authentic to yourself. And what I realized when I became a filmmaker and doing acting was that for the longest time I wasn't authentic with myself. A byproduct of why I went into the law path was because I had so much fear of expressing who I really was, right? And with that, unfortunately, with learning how to reach your full authentic self and unlearning all these belief systems, you go through a lot of toxic cycles internally. You start to spiral. You start to really get thoughts that applied to one way of life that doesn't apply anymore, which you really have to unlearn. And with that comes, destruction of relationships, changes in friend groups, and even at one point, I had trouble connecting with my family because I didn't even know how to portray myself
in front of them, which face to show.
Exactly. They always knew me as this lawyer outgoing with his friends and whatnot. And when I was in the process of letting go of a lot of internal beliefs, it was just kind of like a shit show, It's one thing facing the, like when you're a lawyer and you go to your job that day at the office, if You give it your all or you don't. At the end of the month, you're getting your salary. You go to the court. The only judgment you're getting is from the judge, and he's not even judging you. He's judging the client, the guilty client. Whether you win or lose the case, you're still being paid at the end of the day. You know. So when you do that transition at a later stage in life, and it's a really vulnerable moment to take all of that in, and it made me start realizing how, with my ADHD, it made me realize how impatient I actually was, because I always had things in perfect form. How impulsive I was, because I was always results driven as a lawyer, and with acting you could really be doing things for years and not see any results. And so with being impatient and impulsive, you start lashing out, you start being toxic. And I think that's what I realized was going through my head, and I had to really step back for a second. And through experiences, through obviously whatever came my way in the journey, step back and really dig deep into who I really was as a person and what I wanted to do. So now I started seeing thoughts as a byproduct of childhood, how I was brought up, society, all the things that kind of were imprinted in my brain but don't serve me anymore. And ultimately, I would just observe the thoughts, and if they don't serve me or my purpose in a positive and loving way, then I just let it pass. Like, observing it, and I think that's what acting did. It just kept peeling off layers after layers after layers until I reached some sort of authentic ground
of who you are,
of where I am, and that when I'm faced with a role, I can actually act in that role authentically to who I am and also to who the character is. If I didn't know how to relate the character to who I am on the inside, the acting would show as very surface. It wouldn't be that deep, So, yeah, I think when you follow the societal expectations for so long, as I did with the law path, you really do build up this persona that can be so far away from who you are, because you're just so influenced by what other people say about you, and you care so much about how you're perceived.
Speaking about you, just hearing all these negative comments about you, Akid, when you first started acting, you've heard so many negative comments, you've read so many negative comments. How do you deal with it? Like,
what you mean, like online? I would take things very personally in the beginning, which I now know is completely like such a bad mistake. I never take anything personally now. Humans on average have 70,000 thoughts per day. If one thought occurs to someone and they project it onto you, you can either let it be one of the 70,000 thoughts in passing, or put weight on it and hold it within you, which is not going to do anything but make you like sick. It's poison. But in the beginning, hearing my mom say like, "Oh, we sent you to law school only for you to come back and hold a fucking camera," that adds to the insecurities. In the beginning, I would just be very self-conscious and have so much self-doubt that if I was surrounded by people who, have already gone through that process differently and have reached a level of authenticity, I would feel like so disconnected. I would feel so kind of like I couldn't relate to it, because I just knew what I knew. And when I hear comments, it would just influence me. Online, though, I don't really take those to heart.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, it's easier to hate than love on TikTok and social media. That's completely fine. I remember saying to myself, but I don't want to be everybody's cup of tea.
Sure.
Like that's so boring. Imagine being everyone's cup of tea.
But everyone's like, "Oh yeah."
That's who I was playing out to be when I was a lawyer. Like
but you have to be, because it's kind of like your job, because you have to have people put their trust in you to defend them in court.
Yes, but no, I wasn't even talking like professionally.
Yeah.
When I was in that law path, I was doing everything that was, you know.
So you were a people pleaser.
People pleasing.
Yeah.
And not really being authentic to myself. That's why I started taking things personally when I made this transition. But transitioning made me realize that as long as I'm authentic to who I really am, that none of these comments
really matter.
And I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, especially as a filmmaker and actor. I want to be versatile, you know?
Yeah, you have to be.
You have
so many different roles you're inshallah be taking.
Exactly.
What's an ideal casting that you want to be a part of?
Oh, that's a great question.
So
I want to be in a war film.
Okay. I can see yourself all muddy and
I
stuff
really
running.
like 1917 style, Fury style. I really want to be in a war film as a soldier. That's one thing. Another, I would say, any psychological film, or even romantic comedies. You know, they're really easy to watch. Films, you know.
Yeah.
Like
the
those
psychological thrillers. That's a
psychological thrillers. Like I really like Shutter Island.
Okay.
For example, but romantic comedies to take things lightly. That's why I like the Egyptian skits. They're so
light and
comedic, and it's funny.
But in that case, let's go a bit lighter for you. Like, how does it feel like being the heartthrob of Saudi?
Heartthrob of
Saudi. You're one of the heartthrobs.
I don't think you've seen the comments.
Well, like I'm probably not reading all the comments.
I don't think you see what I see. You know?
Yeah, probably what you see on your for you page is different from what I see. From what I'm seeing, I'm seeing edits of Bader, like كده 2 minutes edits of like and smiling في السيارة مع الشماغ يا الله
okay, that's like, really sweet, and it feels instantaneously like, oh, that's sweet. But as soon as I go in the comment section, I am humbled. When I tell you I'm humbled, they say it's funny saying it, but it just like I wouldn't say heartthrob.
Actually, I'm not reading the comments. Maybe if I see an edit, I'll send it your way next time. And
I think it's funny. It's cool. I think it's really sweet.
Okay, so taking the time out of their day to make such a
that's really cute.
That's nice.
I like that.
I'm happy for it. Like, inshallah, we'll see more edits and I'll send it your way. Inshallah, after this, like, probably someone's gonna clip like a scene of you or something. You know, you never know.
I hope it's a positive one.
Yeah, inshallah. What is okay? So basically, the whole point of this show is to talk about a mistake you've made. And how do you wear it proudly? And how do you move forward? And what have you learned from those mistakes? I call it the smudge. That's why it's called smudges. There's always multiple smudges. It could be different sizes. But what's something that you're comfortable sharing? What's a smudge of yours?
I think how I dealt with things in the beginning of making this change. It took me a whole year to actually understand my thought process and how negative it was. And I think I spiraled in that. And by spiraling in it with a hint of impatience and impulsivity and intensity, it really was like a catastrophic experience for myself. Like it was really detrimental to me and the people around me. But it wasn't until I realized that my actions, because of my inability to process what I was going through, was hurting others. That's when I actually took a step back and dug in deeper. So now I understand that whenever I get an impulsive thought, you know, whether that be a business venture, a move or something, or whatever it is, I sit on it, I sleep on it, and I understand that it's, and I try to process it, you know, logically rather than emotionally. So I don't, you know, do things that will hurt others or myself that I'll regret later. Another mistake was just being impatient. I was just always driven by results as I was like as a lawyer. I've seen it firsthand for the longest part of my life. I think being impatient was a mistake. I think not fully acknowledging that I needed to change as a person on the inside was a mistake, but I don't blame myself for it. I'm compassionate with myself because I had to go through these losses or that kind of pain to understand where those areas are that needed to be improved and transformed from insecurities to securities. Because it wasn't an easy road. You know, it might have been a little late for some people, but it's not late for me.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a new day tomorrow, and I can start radiating my true authentic self in a loving way rather than through unwanted beliefs, unwanted insecurities that came from an outdated system of thoughts.
What's a sacrifice that you had to give up that you kind of wish that you can balance back into your life?
I think in the nature of what I do, it's really inconsistent, right? And you have to always be patient with it. But you never really have at least in the very beginning, you never really have solid grounds or a base.
Yeah.
And with that comes the sacrifice of like hanging with your friends that you grew up with, or, you know, just taking things like, I think enjoying myself a little more, because I'm always like ambitious and hustling, but then there's also a fine line between ambition and self-sabotage. And I think because I was just on this overdrive that I need to do this, I need to do that,
You forgot to smell the roses on the way there.
There you go.
There we go.
Exactly. And now that I've come out of this bubble that I had to unlearn and let go of, I'm a lot more chill. I know what I want. I know that to get there, I need to be really authentic to who I am and to just approach everything in a loving way.
So what makes Bader authentic?
What makes Bader authentic is I know what my values are.
Which are?
I approach my values with having faith.
Okay.
Always in God. So that comes with patience and trust in God that no matter what I do, if I put in all my hard work, the results are not up to me. And I have faith that God is tailoring my life the way that it's supposed to, beyond what my ego wants.
I can just see the clips of the mothers on the WhatsApp group after you saying that.
I mean,
it's true. It's true though.
I had to separate like my ego and my soul. What God knows is right for my soul, my ego might be fighting. And that's when I learned to like step back and just be faithful that everything is working for me, not to me. That everything is happening for me, not to me.
Handshake for that one. That was deep, nice.
But so faith is one of my values. Ambition is one of my values. So always striving for whatever project I want to do, whatever work that I want to endeavor in, and just always reaching high. Also not worrying about the result, just doing my due diligence. And my third value is love, as cringy as that sounds.
Cute.
But just loving every process, loving the company that's around me, and not expecting anyone to be in any way, in any certain way, just loving them for who they are, because I have the capacity to love them, and loving every situation. And just, if I ever find myself in a situation that I'm taking personally, if I transform it to love, trust me, it will never be personal.
Oh.
I think those are the three things that I reached literally in the last month.
Yeah.
That helps me realize my full authentic self.
Allah. Well, like, I'm happy for you. Like, there's nothing more than I wish than happiness and success in your future. And I'm glad that through your learning, mashallah, like you also tied it with deen. And I think a lot of people would really appreciate that, and they don't know about you, that you're very connected in your faith.
Yeah.
And Saraha, wallah, completely different perspective that I've gained listening to you talk today.
When was the last time we spoke before
Last time we spoke, we're in JP, like probably 2015.
2015.
It's almost been around 10 years. But still today, whenever I see videos or anyone asks me, like, who's this guy? I'm like, oh, we went to school together. We're good friends.
Yeah. But I killed that guy. Like, I would say last month, like it's December 2024. And I don't think I fully reached this, like,
aha moment,
this switch in my mentality until last month. Like, that's how much of a process it was.
It doesn't matter how long it took to get there. I'm sure you're there.
Exactly. And I think I needed to be there in the nature of the work that I'm doing. Because with acting, 90% of it is unemployment. I don't know where I read that. And I think even the biggest actors said it. Emilia Clarke, Tom Holland. So you need to be so secure with who you are authentically that rejection is never rejection. What's meant for you will find you. Rejection is redirection. One closed door is like multiple opened, and that's in Dean as well.
I love how you're tying all of this together.
It's all that's, I think, transitioning in the last year from law to acting was more of an internal process than it was material, you know?
Mm.
And I think I needed to go through that process to actually start acting these roles that need a voice.
So what's next for Bader Kabbani? Lawyer / model / actor?
In the short term or long term?
Whatever you want.
I think in the short term, I have this film that I recently directed in Madrid. I have one that I released recently, but it's going through film festivals, so it's not public yet. And there's another short that I directed.
Hello.
And I have another short that I want to film in New York.
Would you collab with that? Is that why you asked today on the story? Like any producers in New York?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Exactly.
Do you ever think about working with Sultan? Tamar.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I hear what he's doing. He's killing it, mashallah.
He's killing it, mashallah.
Yeah.
I think you should definitely reach out and try to work something out together.
For sure.
Well, any other things you would like to share? Is there a dream collab that you're dying to try to make work, especially in Saudi? Acting, yes. Your eyes lit up when I said like...
Yeah, because I do have a dream collaboration.
What was your dream collaboration?
There's a director that I want to work with. His name is Tawfiq.
Tawfiq?
I think he's very smart.
Where is he based?
Here. Oh, no, sorry. I think Riyadh.
In Saudi?
Yeah.
Tawfiq. Let's try to make that happen, honestly. Let's try to work. If there's anything I can do to help support.
I mean, thank you.
Honestly, like you coming out here, helping me out with this episode, getting me into the flow. I don't know how the experience was for you. Like
I know it was great. I think I was very comfortable.
Alhamdulillah.
It was like a safe
space.
It looks like a movie scene.
Yeah, that's the idea I wanted for your episode. Something very movie.
So this was intentional. Yes. Yeah, it looks like the Godfather vibes. I like that.
Well, thank you guys for watching Smudges, and thank you, Bader, so much for your time and sharing all your stories with us. And hopefully this is not a one and done. Inshallah, there'll be more episodes. Inshallah, when you're in bigger movies, we'll look back at this and see how much you've grown. Inshallah. Habibi, wallah, absolute
appreciate it.
Pleasure, my G.
See you, brother.